Hello, everyone. My name is Jaquise Moore. I am the host of Learning with Jasmine. I'm so happy that you guys are on here. For those who do not know me, I am a mother who has a child who has autism. And today we will be talking to a special person in my life. She's the one who birthed me. She's my mommy, you guys. And I'm going to ask her to introduce herself and her profession.
Hello, my name is Janet Moore, and as she said, I'm the mother of Shaquise. Um, I'm a mother of two. She's my youngest. I also have a son, and I have five grandchildren. And Jasmine is the youngest of the five grandchildren. Professionally, I am a professional school counselor. Um, School counselors work with students from kindergarten through high school who are certified with persons from birth through adulthood. Presently, I am a school counselor in a middle school. So I work with sixth, seventh, and eighth graders as a school counselor.
Okay, all right. So we're going to get started, you guys. We are talking about social emotional this month. For those who do not know, we've done part one with therapists uh, through teleplay therapy. So for those who need to look on that, look at the video. Um, so now we're going to talk about social emotional in the school system. Now, we know the pandemic is here. And we have some schools are open, some schools are not, some schools are just virtual, some schools are half going to school in virtual. We have homeschoolers, we have a whole walk of life. And so this is what we're going to be talking about. What can school counselors help us as parents um, come together? There's everything, of course, is connection between home and school, and community is very important. So how can we as a community help our children with social and emotional? Okay, so we're going to get started with the question. What are some of the challenges students face at school?
Okay, so first, before I get to the challenges, I just want to give a general overview of school counseling in the school system. Um, School counseling today is a lot different and more encompassing, more comprehensive than what it was years ago. Years ago, they were called guidance counselors, and their basic role was to guide students through their academic year, making sure that they were taking all of the classes, all of the credits that they needed to graduate, make sure that there was nothing missing. So their most of their focus was just on classes, on credits, and helping them get into college. School counseling is different than guidance. School counseling looks at the total child. We're looking at their academic success. We're looking at their career development. So even in kindergarten, they start looking at career development, and we're looking at their social emotional development because we recognize that it takes the total child to learn. School counselors have the belief that every child can learn. And with the right uh, environment, the right resources, every child can succeed and every child can learn. So, in the school setting, the school counselor is not only looking at the academics, yes, we're looking at the classes, we're looking at the credits, we're looking at are they um, able to access the curriculum. So we're looking at their academics and if they can access the curriculum. We look at is there anything in their life that's impeding them from accessing the curriculum. And that's where we get into whether a child needs um, special ed services. Do they need an IEP to give them the accommodations that are needed to reach that accessing of the curriculum? Also, sometimes there may be mental or emotional or medical things that are impeding a child from accessing the curriculum. And with that, sometimes a child may need a 504 plan, which is another government plan, federal plan that helps a child to access the curriculum. So a child could have diabetes, a child could have Crohn's disease, um, could have celiac disease, other things that are impeding them. It could be difficulty with concentration. So we look at the total child and what is impeding that child from assessing the curriculum, and then working on those resources and things to help open the doors so that that child will have equal access to the curriculum as a child who did not have Crohn's disease or diabetes or any or learning disability. So the counselor is heavily involved with making sure that the child is able to access the curriculum. But also, the counselor is looking at the child's social emotional development. Is the child learning how to get along with others? Does the child know how to problem solve when there is a problem? Um, we are teaching restorative justice for kids to be able to talk with each other and solve problems, um, learn about the consequences of their behaviors, consequences of their decisions, and how to problem solve. So those social emotional, but also what other social emotional things may be going on. There may be some things going on at home in the family. Maybe there's a parent who is dealing with a chronic illness, or there could be a family member dealing with drug abuse or alcohol abuse. There could be financial issues in the family. There could be other stressors. There may be some students who have gone through trauma in their past, and that trauma is still affecting them. So the counselor is working with all of these things to make sure that the child can still assess the curriculum academically, but we want to make sure that the child is emotionally set to be able to come into the classroom and deal with the curriculum. Because if a child is um, overloaded before he even reaches the classroom with these emotional things at home and no one is addressing them, then you have a child who's coming into a classroom, and because of the emotional state that he's in, he's not able to assess the curriculum because his mind is somewhere else and not in the classroom. So the counselor is working with students with social emotional development. And being that we are school counselors, we really only have time to do brief counseling in the context of the building that we're in. But we work with parents, family, and guardians with outside resources to help connect the families with long-term clinical counseling that that child or that family may need in order to address the issues that are impacting the child, that is um, hindering that child from assessing curriculum. So even though it's a school and the school's focus is academics, the counselor is the one in the building who looks at all the other variables that are coming in and impacting the child and may be impeding him from getting the academic success that he should have. So we're looking at ways that we can open the door, provide resources, connect them with outside resources that can help the child, and not only the child, but the family. Because we recognize that even though the child is our first number one client, but the child comes as part of a family. So we recognize that the importance of the parents or guardians or family in their impact upon the child and how they will grasp education, how they will succeed in education. So we work with the total child. And also, as I mentioned, we work with the child on their career development to start looking at what are some possible careers that they may be looking at, what are some possible um, areas of interest that they may have, what are the talents, what are the hobbies, what are the interests that the child has, and how can they take those interests and those talents and build upon them for their future. So we're looking at the total child. So where a teacher in a classroom may only be focused on, are you ready for math? Are you ready for science? Are you ready for social studies? But the counselor going into that classroom and observing students, we're looking at not only are you ready for math or science or social studies, are you ready for life? Are you ready for your day? How are you feeling? What is impacting you right now? Is there something from home that is going on that you're bringing with you into the school building that hinders you from hearing that math teacher today, from hearing that science teacher, because your mind is on something that has happened in the home or in the family or to yourself? We deal with confidentiality with kids that they can come and they can talk to us, they can share things, and those things stay between the counselor and the student. But we always let student know that there are certain areas where we have to break confidence by law. And those areas is if the child ever tells me that someone has hurt them or is threatening to hurt them, then we have to break confidence to keep the child safe. If the child tells me he's going to hurt someone else, then we have to break confidence to keep that someone else safe. Or if the child ever reveals to me that he is going to harm himself, then we have to break confidence to keep the child safe. So we deal with not only outside harm to a child or the child towards someone else, but we also deal with self harm. Because many kids, as they're dealing with trauma, as they're dealing with stress, as they're dealing with family issues, sometimes they don't know how to handle it. They don't know what to do, and they turn on themselves and they harm themselves. So we deal a lot with self-harm and trying to connect them with like I said, outside long-term clinical counseling that can help them, but also helping them with new strategies at school of how to deal with these feelings when they come up at school. So the challenge that we face in school is all of the other outside things that are impacting kids today that impedes them from being open, ready to access the curriculum. Children today are inundated with so many things that I was never exposed to when I was a child. It's just a different world that we're living in. And so kids today come to school with so many stresses on them. Where when I was a child, it was more of children were really carefree. We just want to know, can we go out and play? And what time is dinner? And
Mm.
today, kids I really feel that kids are robbed of a lot of their innocence and their childhood because they are so inundated with so many things. Unfortunately, one of the things that brings some of these stresses is the internet. Parents need to be very careful about the exposure that their children have to the internet. If you really stop and analyze it, when you give a child a cell phone with internet service, you have put the world in the palm of your child's hand.
Wow.
We're talking about some children as young as second and third grade have cell phones. But I'm just going to focus on the middle schoolers that I deal with, 10 to 12-year-olds. By the time they're 13, they're leaving us on the 13, 14, getting ready to go to high school. But think about putting the world in the palm of a 10-year-old, an 11-year-old, or a 12-year-old whose frontal lobe has not even completely developed yet. It is so much information. It is information overload that they cannot handle. When I was a child, and you think about bullying in the school, the bully was the one who would tease you, call you names. As you walk by in the hallway, they may trip you, they may push you, or they may knock your books out of your hand. And yes, bullying was a bad thing. But the relief that we got back in those days is when school was over, you were done with the bully until tomorrow morning. So once you left school at 3 o'clock and you went home, there was no more bully until you got back to school. That's not today. Children today live with the bully 24/7.
Mm.
Most bullying today, now I'm not going to say that there's no pushing or tripping and shoving at school, because anytime you put a bunch of children in one building together, there's going to be one or two who's going to do that. But mostly in our schools, we don't have a lot of fighting. There's not a lot of pushing and shoveling, those things. What's happening today is the bully is on the internet. The bully is on Facebook. The bully is on Snapchat. The bully is on all of these different platforms that your students are using. So when the bully is teasing your child at school, and now your child goes home, the bully, even though the bully may be a walker and your child may be a bus rider, the bully can still bully your child while he's on the bus on the way home because he's on the phone. Your child gets home and the bully is still texting him, still talking about him or talking about her, calling her names. Um, your child goes in their bedroom. The bully goes in the bedroom with them because it's on the phone, it's on the laptop, it's on the computer, it's wherever they go. It's 24/7. And even though when we talk to kids, we'll say, block them, turn it off, don't respond. We try to give those, but you think about this is a 10-year-old, this is an 11-year-old, this is a 12-year-old. And even though it hurts me, even though I'm devastated by it, I'm still curious. I want to know, what are they saying? So they keep going back and they keep looking and they keep reading, and they can't get away from the bully. The bully goes home with them. The bully rides the bus with them. The bully goes in the bedroom with them. The bully's at the dining room table with them. The bully is with them in the middle of the night at 2 and 3 when mom and dad are asleep. The child is still getting up, reading to see what the bully is saying. And that kind of constant put down, constant derogatory language, constant name calling, constant belittling takes an emotional toll on children. And that's what our kids today are dealing with.
Mm.
Um, some kids are involved in it, not because they're the bully, but because they want to be part of the group. And especially when you're talking about middle school age, it is an age where peer relationship is so important. Um, and one of the challenges also that kids have in school is picking friends, which I explain to parents and students all the time. Unfortunately, school does not teach you how to pick friends. Unfortunately, most people's parents didn't teach them how to pick friends. So let's just look at the real truth of it. You turned 5 years old and you went to kindergarten. They put you in a room with 15 to 18 other 5 year olds and left you there for about 6 hours. What are little 5 year olds going to do when they're in a room together? They're going to play. They're going to be your friends because that's who I see every day, Monday through Friday, the same people. Now, they didn't pick those friends in the class. They were put in the room with those people, and those people became their friends because you were put in the room with them. But then next year, you go to first grade and you get a new teacher. And yes, you get some new kids, but some of the kids from your kindergarten class are in that class. And you put them in a room together again for 6 hours a day, and that's who you play with. They become your friends. And you did that in second grade, and you did it in third grade, and you did it in fourth grade, and you did it in fifth grade. And even outside of the school, some of your friends, you didn't pick them. They are the children of your parents' friends. So if your mother has a good friend and her good friend has two or three children, and these two mothers get together, their children, anytime you put children together, little children, they're going to play. Whether I know you or don't know you, doesn't matter to little children. I just want to play. So your outside friends are chosen most of the time by your parents, by who they're friends with. And your peers at school are your friends because they're the ones you were put in the classroom with for 6 hours a day. And they did that kindergarten through fifth grade. But then all of a sudden, they send you to middle school and they pull the rug out from under you. Instead of you being in one classroom with the same student for 6 hours, now they make you change class every 45 minutes. Wow, wait a minute, what's going on? I was with Johnny, I was with Sally, but now I'm going to another room. And I don't know these people in this room. But then by the time I start trying to get to know them, 45 minutes later, I've got to move to another room. And you're doing that all day long. And so now instead of being exposed to the same 28 to 30, 32 kids for 6 hours a day, I'm now exposed to 150 or more kids
Mm.
a day. And no one has ever taught me how to pick a friend. My friends were just the people who I was stuck in the room with. But now I'm not stuck in the same room. You keep switching the rooms on me. And what do I do? So we have students who are coming into middle school who don't know how to pick friends. So some of the challenges they have is, okay, I want to hold on to the friends I had in elementary school in fifth grade, but maybe I'm not in any classes with them. And now I don't understand why Sally, Mary, and Jane, who I was so close to in third, fourth, and fifth grade, but I have no classes with them, but they all have classes together, that they're still being friends, but now they're talking about me. They're not as friendly with me. And they're putting me down on Snapchat. And I don't understand what's going on. So the children have challenges as they come into middle school because now they're put in new environments which they've never been in before. This is a whole new ball game. I'm changing, so I've got to get used to 7 or more different teachers and their personalities. I'm exposed to all of these people that I don't know. And most middle schools are made up of at least 2 to 3 elementary schools merging together. So that's why if you look at the systems, we have more elementary schools Then it narrows down in middle school because two or three, sometimes even four elementary schools come together to make up a middle school. And then you have two or three middle schools, four or five, and come together to make a high school. So I'm exposed to a whole lot of more people. And to be honest with you, I love middle school. I love working with the middle school age, but it's the meanest age. Elementary kids, they start off very loving and friendly. They learn the bullying as they go along. By the time they get through the 10th grade of high school, they kind of say, oops, college is in 2 years. Let me get myself together. And they start focusing on their career. And a lot of the foolishness goes away. But middle school is the meanest age. It's where it's the pecking order. They're trying to see where they fit in. They're trying to figure out what group to be in. They don't know if they want to be in the popular group or the unpopular group or the sports group or the musical group. Where do I fit in? No one's ever shared with me how to make friends. No one's ever shared with me how to make where to fit in and how to be myself. And so they get involved with whether it's the Snapchat and the gossip, the put downs, a lot of it is just trying to fit in, to be a part of the group. And so those are the challenges. And so those challenges now, the friendship challenge, where to fit in challenge, what group challenge ends up being the crying at home, so a school anxiety, not wanting to come to school. Because if you've been bullied all night long by the bully, when the bully has said something, and it's not just direct bullying like it used to be. A bully used to call you names, but no, what they do is the bully may not talk directly to you. The bully talks about you on social media. So instead of the bully just calling you a name, they call that name about you to 20 other people. Mm-hmm. And then those 20 other people are tweeting it out to 20, 30 other people each. So by the time you get back to school tomorrow morning, the entire school knows what Sally, Jane, or Susan said about you last night at 10 o'clock. And where you think only Sally, Jane, and Mary knows it, 3 people, you get to school and 659 people know it.
Wow.
And everybody's talking. It's the talk in the hallway. It's the talk in the bathroom. It's the talk in the cafeteria. How can you sit and focus on math with that going on?
Okay, so I wanted to stop here and do a little commercial break because she definitely have talked a lot about impacted a lot of things that we've actually talked about in Learning with Jasmine. Again, this is a social emotional month, and so there's a lot of stressors that I've heard that could, have an impact of your students' learning. So I definitely look at part 1 of Theraplay therapy video. Also, she talked about trauma. Trauma, we will be talking to a trauma counselor the end of August, so tune into that. So those are different things that we're talking about, social emotional. We're always coming back to connection. We're always coming back to a school counselor being an advocate for your child and your family. So we talked about that too. So those are the things that we definitely want to be mindful that connection is powerful, because things may happen in home or in family, and the student need a place, a place to have that conversation, just have that time to release, or to help guide. And so as school counselor, those are the roles of a school counselor. So that's definitely a very informational piece of that. So we talked about the roles, we talked about the challenges. And so this is definitely a part that we definitely need to talk about, Mrs. Moore. How can parents help with this change of schooling, virtual learning, and what are your recommendations?
All right. So for this virtual learning, we still need to look at the total child. This caught us all by surprise in March, and we've all had to make adjustments. Every child learns differently. And so the issue that we have is that some kids really need to be that one-on-one, see a teacher. Some students are good with technology and can learn well, easily with technology. I think even in this virtual setting, if we make sure that we're checking on each child individually, seeing what their needs are, finding the resources and the accommodations for them, I think everyone can be successful. Parents, number one, be in tune. Knowing that your child has online learning, one of the main things that you can do is to bring some structure into the home. I know sometimes for parents it's different, difficult. Parents may be working out of the home, they may be frontline workers, or parents may be working themselves in the home. It's important that every child in the house has a device. Most school systems, now I work for Montgomery County Public Schools, most school systems are providing devices for students, but you have to let them know. They don't know what you have in your home. So if your child needs a Chromebook, if you have 3 students, get 3 Chromebooks. Do not depend on 3 kids using one device. That's only going to slow things up. Another thing the county's trying to do, make sure everybody has internet access. If they don't, the county will provide hotspots so that you can make that connection. So the first thing, parents, make sure your children have what they need to do the work. So make sure they have a device. You do not have to go out and buy a Chromebook or a laptop. The school system will provide it for you. The school system will provide the hotspots if you need the hotspots. Make sure that you're bringing some structure to the home, setting aside a place for your child to do the work. It is best and recommended that it not be their bedroom, because teachers will be teaching Zoom classes. Their live Zoom classes with other students, and really nobody needs to be looking in your bedroom, okay, for students. So the dining room table, the kitchen table, the living room, if you can find a spot. But for some people, the bedroom has to be the spot. If so, if you can set up a corner or something where they either have a little tray, a little table, a chair, someplace that they can sit and do the work, it's best if they're not sprawled out all over their beds. Okay, so bringing some consistency. One of the problems that we had during this last part of the school year, being at home, many kids kind of checked out of school in the sense of they being at home, they would stay up all night and play video games. And then they're too tired to get up the next day for school. They're too sleepy. They're too tired. They don't want to do it. So parents having some balance, because yes, even though they're home, they still have those social emotional needs. So having some balance, let's get our schoolwork done. And when your schoolwork is done, you will have X amount of time to play video games, not giving them unsupervised, unleashed, however long they want to play. They should not be up at 2 and 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning playing video games, because that's just going to not put them in the mood for school at 9 o'clock the next morning. Another thing I would suggest to parents to help them, um, if you can, for the younger kids, elementary school age kids, you may need to sit with them when they're doing their Zoom lessons with their teachers, or be nearby so you can hear what's going on, that you can work with them, you can help them. When you come to your middle schoolers and your high schoolers, they're more independent, but parents still, you need to be able to know that they've done the work. So just like if they were in the school building, I always say to parents, because parents always say, well, I asked them if they did their homework and they said they did it. Well, my advice has always been, ask them to see the homework, not ask them did they do the homework. Because most middle schoolers, they're going to tell you they did it even if they didn't. Ask them to see it. So even for your middle schooler or high schooler, they're doing work on the computer, ask them to see it before they submit it. So having those checks and balances is a good thing. Also, for their social emotional, you need to find time for them to have a release. Kids cannot just sit and do schoolwork for 4, 5, 6, 7 hours and nothing else. They need an outlet, they need a release. So whether it's the video games, whether it's families coming together to play Uno, or whatever board game, Monopoly, or whatever, find some time as a family to have that downtime, that fun time, that release time. Like I said, playing a game. If you have a ping pong table in your house in the basement, go play ping pong, or go outside in the backyard, do something. Have some fun family meals. We're gonna have an indoor picnic, and have hot dogs and baked beans or whatever. Make it special. But also, parents, take the time to talk to your children, asking them about how they feel. Ask them what are their thoughts. I know it gets a little more difficult when you get to the middle school and the high school, because they don't talk as much to parents as the little ones do. But try to engage them in conversations. How are things going with your friends? Are you in touch with your friends? Have you talked to Sally? Have you talked to Jane? Have you talked to Mike? Have you talked to Frank? You know, so, or most, I know the boys, they get on the video games and they play with their friends on the video games. Girls, you got to go a little bit extra steps. And most of the, not all, but most of the online bullying that I talked about before involves more girls than boys.
Mhm.
So make sure with your girls, are you checking how is she doing with her friends? What's going on? What are they talking about? Those kinds of things. Then, especially with the girls, what I try to do with the girls in my building when I'm counseling them, I try to get them to think a new way. And the way I share with them the difference between boys and girls, boys usually talk about things. They talk about football, they talk about soccer, they talk about basketball, they talk about um, video games. They talk about things. Girls tend to talk about people.
Mm.
What was she wearing? Look at her hair. Look at this. When you talk about people, is negative. So if you can get your girls to switch from talking about people to talking about things, it's all right to talk about fashion, but not about what she's wearing. It's all right to talk about hairstyles, but not about, did you see how her hair was today? Talk about your favorite movies or your favorite book or your favorite food or whatever. During this pandemic and this isolation at home, one good thing is for people to start maybe a new habit, a new hobby, or pick up on a hobby that you used to have that you didn't have. So some people are baking more, cooking more, some are sewing, some are learning to play an instrument, like some people are picking up the guitar or the banjo, something that's fun. Um, painting, coloring, finding these kinds of outlets. But things that your child can find some hobby that they can do, get into, whether even gardening in the backyard, find something you can do as a family. But as far as the academics, parents establish some routine in the house. Set aside a particular place where they're going to do their work. Parents get involved. I tell especially my middle school parents, most parents enter middle school with their first middle school child thinking, all right, we're in middle school, they're sixth grade. I don't have to read to them anymore. I don't have to do homework with them anymore. They're independent. No, they still need you. You need to sit down with them with their homework. You need to sit down and still read to them. Even through high school, it's still okay to read. And what I mean by that, you can do it as a family thing. Pick one book and read it as a family. Me raising my two kids, they both could read. Yes, I know they could read, and they would read. But we always had a habit of one book we would read as a family. So we would sit down. And in that family read, it didn't have to be me reading all the time. I could read a paragraph. Jaquise could read a paragraph. Her brother could read a paragraph. So you can read, pair, share, or the parent can read, but they're constantly learning from you as they hear you read. Okay. So keeping those social emotional things going, um, get them out of their bedrooms. When a child is so isolated a lot in their bedroom, especially if they have internet service in that bedroom, not a good thing. Usually that's where the damaging social um, bullying and things goes on. So get them out of their bedrooms, get them up and about, um, work with them with their schoolwork, balance things out between schoolwork and fun things, family things. Um, Stay in touch with teachers to know what's going on. Parents should be emailing. I advise parents, even when you're in the school building, do one mask email once a week or once every 2 weeks that goes out to all of your child's teachers and just asking a general question, how are they doing? You must understand that the teachers has anywhere from 150 to 300 students, and they're not going to remember to email you and tell you how Sally's doing. But if you email a teacher and ask how Sally's doing, in most counties, that teacher has 48 hours to get back to you. That's what is expected from the county. So, my suggestion, parents, email one email to all of the teachers. How is Johnny doing? What do I need to know to help him with that's coming up? Or what do I need to do to help him with anything that was last week or so that he needs to review? And let the teachers respond to you. And if you do that and stay informed, stay connected, stay involved, you'll see a bigger difference in your child's performance in school. And also with that social emotional piece. Um, Sometimes even with that confidentiality, it's a thin line. Like I said, if there's certain things, I have to break that confidence and tell the parent. But sometimes I'm trying to teach a student how to talk to their parent because a lot of times things are going on, parent doesn't know anything about it. But we're trying to teach your child how to talk to you. But also, as parents, contact the parent, the counselor. Is there anything I need to know that Sally's dealing with going on? And let that counselor also teach you how to talk to your child. I have many parents that contact me, want to know, how do I deal with this? How do I deal with that? And I can help them through that because the change is coming when they're elementary school. When they're in elementary school and when they're little, the parent is their world and everything evolves around the parent. By the time they get to middle school, Now their friends have become their world,
Mm.
and they're beginning to push the parent out, not because they don't want to, it's just their focuses are changing. And sometimes parents have a hard time dealing with, I don't know what's going on with them anymore. She used to talk to me about everything, and now she doesn't talk at all. Keeping that line of communication open with your child is so critical for their social emotional development. You know, when I have to call a parent to say that your child is cutting, so many parents are shocked, had no clue that anything was bothering their child, you know? So keeping those lines of communication open as much as you can is very, very critical. Learning how to talk. And it's a difference, you know, talking to a middle schooler is not like talking to a second grader. It's a different challenge, it's a different process, but you need to learn to maneuver and learn those things. Even if it means, if you see necessary in your family, there's some breakdown that's coming through, maybe you need to look at some outside counseling. And if you don't know where to start with your school counselor. Your school counselor has resources that they can share with you about the many resources that are out there for families. There's family counseling, there's group counseling, there's individual counseling, and there's counseling for families and groups on so many different issues, whether you're dealing with drug abuse in the home, alcohol, is it physical abuse, um, trauma. We have undocumented students. So counselors also deal with attendance, and we have to look at what are the issues. Why is this student missing so much school? Why is, you know, kids who are in the school building and getting involved in outside clubs, after school clubs and things, helps them at their schooling. But why is this certain kids do not get involved in anything? They may be an undocumented student and they don't want to be in a whole lot of stuff because they don't want you to track them down. So all of these things counselors have to be aware of. We have to be able to work with different families of different situations. We try to help families to know their rights and what things are available to them. And we try to be a resource for families to connect them with wraparound services, outside therapeutic counseling, and all of these other things. We deal with homelessness. And all of these things that are going on in the school building is very confidential. Usually all of these things is going on and no one in the building basically knows about it except for administration and counseling. Those are the two areas who the administrators have to know everything that's going on in their building because they're responsible for the building. And the counselor is the advocate, the leader, the collaborator, the consultant with administration to lead the families to outside resources, wraparound resources. We have PPWs, people personnel workers, and our school psychologists. So when I say administrators, I'm talking about principals and assistant principals. We're talking about the counselors, the PPWs, and the school psychologists. That's the group of people that work
Mm.
together to make sure that we can help parents, help families assess all of the resources available to them in and outside the school that would help their family and help their child assess the curriculum, develop their career development, and take care of their social emotional needs so that they can grow up to be healthy and happy citizens in our community.
Wow, wow. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mrs. Moore, for this. I hope you guys have enjoyed this session. This is two, we've done two so far. We will be doing two more episodes this month about social and emotional. I hope this is very helpful. Please share and like this link and let others know about the other events that are going on. All right. So until then, you guys, thank you, Mrs. Moore, for your time. And also, you guys, again, it is so important to connect. And so this is one of the reasons why, for those who do not know, I was a little stressed, a little more than stressed. And I actually talked to my own counselor, and yes, I have a counselor who told me that I need to get to release something. I need to, do something new. And like Mrs. Moore was saying, and I started this page, and it has been helpful with the process and the journey of, you know, being at home with, and being at home all the time. My work was my outlet sometimes. And now I'm home with Jasmine, and she's doing so much better, you guys. And so, social emotional, definitely asking her how's her day, how she's doing. She had a couple of minor episodes, and I kept asking her, "How do you feel? What is going on? Tell me how you feel." And so that actually has helped her with stopping and trying to figure out what is going on instead of just acting out. So again, social emotional is very important, and hopefully it's very useful and helpful. All right, until then, you guys, I will see you later. Bye bye. Thank you.